Hello and welcome to the Part 2 session of our DITA 1.2 interactive tutorial. My name is Hannah Samaru, Marketing Coordinator at Data Conversion Laboratory, and I will be your moderator today. For those of you who are not familiar with DCL, we convert and organize content to create electronic documents, populate databases, publish on the web, and basically get it ready for tomorrow's technology. This morning we are very excited to have Noz Urbina from Mekon Limited with us. Noz is a Senior Consultant and Business Development Manager at Mekon. With years of experience as a content strategy and content management consultant, Noz has provided services to Fortune 500 organizations and small to medium enterprises. Mekon is a leading global systems integrator based in the UK and focused on increasing the effectiveness of business content and technical communications. We are thrilled that Noz is here to share his expertise with us today. Now I will turn the presentation over to Noz from Mekon. Noz?
Thank you very much, Hannah. Okay, and thank you for everybody for attending, and especially to those of you who have already seen my introduction, part 1. So today I'm talking about Conref and subject scheme. This is a 3-part mini-series, and it's a really mini-series. We're going to be going over some quite powerful functionality in a very short amount of time, so please bear with, and I hope you will keep in touch with questions and look forward to deeper dive sessions in the future. So quickly about me, here's my blog and my company website, mekon.com, lesswork.moreflow.blogspot.com. You can subscribe there, and you can meet me at CS Applied if you're going to be in London in the beginning of March. Also, there are more sessions recorded on the DCL Learning Series if you search for the LinkedIn group on there. Okay, so we've got the new series. Last time we did key features, keys, key refs, and con-key refs. Today we'll be looking at subject scheme maps and new Conref functions. Actually, in the opposite order, we'll be looking at Conref functions first. And then next time we'll be looking at learning and training content and some of the rest. That one is going to be really an overview because there's so much in there. I'm just going to kind of be giving you a little walkthrough of what it has to offer. These two sessions, as you know by now, are being recorded because unfortunately I am currently in China and I'm not able to record these live because of time zone and connection problems. Okay, so without any further ado, Conref features. Those of you who attended my last session will have seen that I invented a product called Hyperwidgets, and Hyperwidgets comes in 2 versions. There's the USA and the EU version of Hyperwidgets. And our scenario for Conref Push is that we're going to add a custom version called Toshiba EU. So EU and USA are our core market versions. They're the ones that we have a predefined versioning process for and a release schedule for. And then we get this big client Toshiba, which is a client of ours who we're doing DITA with. And they want a custom version of the application. And so we're going to have a few differences, but we don't want to create a whole new development branch and deal with differencing and stuff like that. We just want to change a few pieces that are specific for them, but keep our core product consistent, our core product content consistent. So if I show you that in real life, the actual output looks like this. So I've got regular Hyperwidgets on the left there. That's got the welcome screen, and the differences are really not in the kind of the welcome stuff, but in the actual processes. Here I've got installing Hyperwidgets, and Hyperwidgets is the program, and it says when you're installing Hyperwidgets for the first time, you double-click the installer, select the action, follow instructions, and etc. to get it installed. However, in the Toshiba version, the context is you want to install the custom Toshiba build of Hyperwidgets for the first time. You double-click the installer like before, but in this build, you will get a Toshiba splash screen and machine ID. Then you go on selecting the desired action. And once you select the desired action, you have to email the machine ID to Hyperwidgets to get your unique install code. From that point on, you continue the instructions as before. So we've overwritten one piece of content, we've replaced it with something else, And then we've appended something here, and we've inserted a step in there. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So the installation task does not need to be edited for us to do this. We don't have to have read access to it. It doesn't have to be hours and assigned to us in the CMS. We don't have to put it into a new workflow. If it's already approved, we can just pick it up and use it. What we're doing is we are going to create a Delta file. If we look at the two maps, they're the same. We've got welcome, installing, uninstalling, legal, reusables. And here we've got the same thing. We've got reusables. But in the Toshiba one, we've got this topic called a push task. And what that task is, that push task is the differences between the Toshiba task and the original. So if I can do these side by side. Okay. So I'm going to turn on the tags and attributes, which I know is a bit scary, but I think it's really going to help you see what's going on here. Okay. So on the left we have the original. Step 1, double-click the installer, etc. Okay, the first thing we did was we replaced the original context when you're installing hyperwidgets for the first time, and we put in a new context, which is here. So we put it in like a regular conref. It says context conref, and it points to the install task over there, and then over to the ID, which is the context ID. But we've added this new attribute con action, and we've set the con action to push replace. What that means is I'm not pulling from the left to the right. What I'm doing is I'm pushing from the right to the left. So everything inside this context here, which is this new content, you want to install the custom Toshiba build of hyperwidgets for the first time, is going to get pushed from the push task into this location and replace what's currently there. That is how we get this Toshiba custom content replacing that original content. Now, as we go down, we see our first step here. So the step is an ordinary step, but what we've done is we've done a conref to the command in the first step, which was double-click the installer. There, we've got command click is the ID, and double-click the installer is the content. And in this one, we've set the con action to mark. So we're not going to do anything to it. We are just using it as a marker, as an anchor point to do something else. And then immediately after the marker, we put a step result, which is the thing that we want to put in there, and we set its con action to push after. So the marker is there, and then it will take the thing that comes after that has the con action push after. So that all that together creates the mechanism to take double-click the installer and turn it into double-click the installer, and you will get a Toshiba splash screen. Further down, we've got another marker here pointing to the same task, this time pointing to step ID ABC, which is there. Follow the on-screen instructions. And again, we set the con action to marker, but this time, instead of using push after, we've got something before it that says con action push before, when we've been pushed in an entire step. Email the machine ID to hyperwidgets to get unique install, your unique install code. So the original, just follow the on-screen instructions, is now preceded by email the machine ID to hyperwidgets. So those are the three different push behaviors we have in DITA 1.2. And I'm not going to have time to show them to you today, but I've got some slides actually which show you the kind of before topic 1, topic 2, and the output examples in detail, and those will be available for download with the presentation. So now what I'm going to show you is Conref range. Again, now we have some simpler reuse coming out in DITA 1.2 versus DITA 1.1. Frequent complaint is if I wanted to reuse a whole bunch of things, I had to do a whole bunch of Conrefs. Not so anymore. So over here on the left, we've got the same topic as before, the installing topic. And now we're going to create an uninstalling topic. And this is both in Toshiba EU and the regular installation. In both cases, the uninstall topic is almost exactly like the install topic, but the first step, double-click the installer, is instead going to be select hyperwidgets from the Windows Add or Remove Programs list. And then the whole rest of the task is the same as installing. You select the desired action, follow the on-screen instructions, and you restart your computer. So we've got one Conref, and that one Conref here says, go to the install task and get me that ID. And you can see down here we've got M5J and NV, and then we've got M5J and NV, so you can see a preview here of what we're talking about. So that's the first ID in the Conref. Select the desired action from the first dialog. And then we've edited the Conref end attribute, and that says same topic, but this time stop at ID 00, 000. So that means that it goes from the first one, takes the middle one with it because it's in between, and then it will stop at ID 000. And if I were to change that to the following one, ID 321, attributes. I'm just going to change the end attribute there. From ID 000 to 321, and hit enter. And now I've got 4 steps being reused instead of 3. So very useful for reusing strings of similar elements. As I said, could be sections, could be table rows, could be paragraphs, whatever you want. But I think task steps is one that we're going to see a lot of real usage in the field. In the result, if you can compare uninstalling and installing, you've got installing, double-click, select, follow, restart, and then uninstalling, select from the Windows menu, and then select, follow, restart. Okay, so that's Conref, the new features of Conref. Conref range, push, pull, Conref range, push, replace, and push before and after. Okay, how are we doing on time, Hannah?
Hi, I think we're doing pretty good. How much more do you think you have to go?
I think I can do about another 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so actually I'll flash these up on the screen quickly for those of you who are just looking at the recording. So by doing this, you can pause the recording and have a look at these in your own time. That was Conref replace on the screen now. And then push before and after. Okay, so subject scheme. Subject scheme is a taxonomy management system. It's a way of handling relationships between metadata. It's got really some advanced relationship building options. People who are familiar with web taxonomies or even ontologies will recognize some of the things the subject scheme can do. I'm going to look at its simpler features today. At its simplest, it can control attribute values across platforms. So it can rein people into using a specific taxonomy, but it's part of the DITA standard and not part of the editors, which was always a problem before. At its most complex, it can power dynamic faceted search and delivery platforms. We have some of our clients who are looking at having subject scheme maps built on the fly by the users on the web. And creating ontologies dynamically and creating reusable content and indexes which can be used across various platforms, even print. So I'm going to only be able to get through the simplest kind of incarnation of subject scheme today. So we'll go back to our map, and we're going to go back to the basic EU hyperwidgets map, not the Toshiba one, so you can forget about that for now. Now, so subject scheme is a map. It's a specialization of map, so we link to it with a map reference. And here I can see a preview of the whole structure. I'm going to open up map here in its own editor and bring up the elements. Okay, so in a subject scheme map, we have, well, certainly subject definitions. And the subject definitions take keys, which you'll have learned about in my previous session, which are really kind of labels to say, what is this? So what is the name of this subject? What is the key which we'll use to reference it? But also can take a vast array of sub-elements to get fancier with how we're relating keys. Here we've got subject defs inside each other, but we could say that one subject def has instances of another, is a kind of, is a narrower range of, is part of, is related to. We can put in related subjects. And what I would suggest is looking at the spec and trying to figure out which ones are relevant to you, because there's actually so much to do with this subject scheme. I could devote an entire webinar to it. I just want to show you, I think, one of the most immediately applicable uses of subject scheme, which is as a way to control your taxonomy for using attributes inside an editor. If you have an organization that has multiple people using multiple different editors, let's say you're using Oxygen, XMetal, FrameMaker, Epic, because you're a big shop, or you're using contractors, and you want them to obey your attribute values for conditional content or image sizes or whatever you want, but you want to control how they put in attributes. Usually you had to configure the editor on each workstation or configure the editor and share the configurations. Here, we're going to make lists. Here I've got my OS list, Windows, Linux, Android, Mac, and here I've got my levels of the product, Pro, Basic, and Mobile. And just by making that list in this way, saying my OSs are these, and my levels are these, we're able to then tie them to specific attributes. So if I turn on my attributes again, here I've said that the OS list should be tied to the platform attribute as an enumeration definition. An enumeration is a controlled list. So by saying the platform attribute should be enumerated according to the OS list, that's all that the system needs when I then go to edit content anywhere in this map to control what values I'm allowed to put in. So now when I'm editing and I open up the attributes and I try to edit the attributes of anything associated with this map, when I get down to, sorry, what was it? Platform, I've got that list being pulled from my map. So the benefit of this is not only can I ship it to any editor, I can also associate it with a given map. So if I've got hundreds of these, because I've got, I'm doing them for specific clients, I'm doing them for specific platforms and versions and so on and so on and so on, I can have a very small set that's relevant for that map that I'm working on. So I can just select it from a list and I'm good to go. The other one I did was other props, and that's for the levels. So I could say that this product, this paragraph here, is platform Mac, and then in the other props, I'm going to say that it's the basic version. And I have those drop downs there. Just by editing a little map and associating it with my main map, I'm good to go. So that's a quick introduction to subject scheme and Conref. So we'll be able to take questions on the recording. If you post them or submit them by email, we'll be compiling all the answers together and I will get back to you definitely on anything you want to know about either of the topics you've seen today. Thank you very much for attending, and Hannah, you want to close us off?
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us today. As Noz mentioned, just please email if you have any questions him at noz.urbina@mekon.com. The answers will be posted online at the DCL Learning Series section of dclab.com, and we look forward to seeing you at the Part 3 session of the DITA 1.2 interactive tutorial on December 14th. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.